Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks, Matt.
Good to see you.
Good to be seen by you.
It's been, I haven't seen you since January of this year. It's October. Wait, did I see you in January?
Yeah, I think we saw each other in January.
That's right.
I think we were namming.
That's right.
We survived another year.
So I know you because of our mutual friend and former WCA guest, Chris Salim.
The infamous
Very,
Chris Salim.
Yeah. Big
Fearless.
troublemaker. Big Canadian troublemaker.
That's right. He's a real Canadian.
Yeah.
He's got the accent and everything.
I know. Well, so let's start. As far as you're concerned, I do this thing called the State of the State, where you basically tell us who you are, where you're based, what you consider yourself, producer, engineer, mixer, etc. And, what is, in a short description, what does the day-to-day look like for you as an audio professional?
So the state of the current state has me out of the States where I was born and raised and in Canada. So I've been here for a while now, and I am on currently a big 160 acres of Canadian foothills of the Rockies countryside where we own this land, and we just got out of the city. We got as far away from the hustle and bustle as we could. And so I am currently at this exact minute sitting in a shipping container, a 20-foot sea-can shipping container on this land in the Canadian Rockies, kind of confused by all of this at this point in life, but I love it and it's amazing. And I'm just living slower. I'm working smarter and not harder. And the journey to this point, I'm sure we will get into at some point.
What's the day-to-day like for you? Are you mixing? Are you recording? Are you doing your own stuff?
Yeah, the core of me is I would say producing. And so with that, I do enough as a, air quote musician to hack my way through that. I do enough of my own stuff to hack my way through that. And I mix to support that. I record to support that. I have the gear to support that. But at the kind of the beginning and the end of the day, I love doing the journey of, hey, I've got these songs in a notebook. Can you help me? And I go, yeah. And then we do the journey until we spit out mixes. So I'm kind of in that lane of creative producing. And so I guess at the end of the day, yeah, I'm an engineer, producer, accidental studio owner.
Okay. Where in Canada are you?
Alberta, just outside Calgary. So kind of westmost is Vancouver and BC. And then you go east a touch and there lands Alberta and Calgary. And so, yeah, from where I was raised in California, it's like dead north. You hit Calgary. So it's kind of that west side of big old green and oftentimes white Canada.
Let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about where you were born and raised and what your upbringing was like and the role that music or technology played in that.
Born, raised out LA, California. Raised east of there in kind of a suburb called Pasadena, right in there. And for me, non-musical family, I am adopted. So we've always joked that like Lenny Kravitz could actually be my cousin or uncle or something. And I should look into that just in case I'm due something that I'm missing out on. So I don't know if genetically I was raised by musicians and never knew it. But from an upbringing standpoint, my mom still, we can't carry a tune in a paper bag or whatever her generation still likes to say. So it was never hardcore encouraged. It was never discouraged, but it just wasn't, my mom listened to the, all the cool stuff that was going on the radio and whatever. And so I kind of found my own way into it. I tried piano lessons as a young lad and I was terrible. Absolutely terrible practicing and I don't think I've ever played a scale in my life. Somewhere around high school, I discovered that music was kind of fun and cool and I enjoyed it and I was decent at it. And so I got myself, the first thing was I worked really, really hard. I remember I was like 14. I worked really hard for my dad had a little private business that he ran, a little one-man shop. And I spent all summer in his warehouse stocking shelves so I could afford my first MIDI keyboard. And I still remember it was a Proteus, an Emu Proteus keyboard. And I remember this thing s- I kind of had the Casio, ding, 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 ding thing for a while. And then my big upgrade in high school was to go to this Proteus thing. And that's when I really discovered, like I can make sound on my own with this thing that I have in front of me. And I remember calling those poor people, and it was before the internet was as viable as it is now. So you'd call the companies and they'd just be like, Steve's on the phone again. Like who wants him? Right. Like, cause I'm
Hmm.
like, hey man, if I turn it upside down and spin it around, can I make it do this? And they're like, I don't know. like we just came out with MIDI, right? Like slow down. So the tech piece initially instantly kind of captivated me more than the music piece. And I learned how to hack away just enough to make music with this technology. And then, it as happens, I think a lot of times in journeys like ours, our friends are like, "Hey man, like as soon as you buy a truck, everybody's like, "Can you help me move?"
Yeah,
Right?
right.
And so they're like, "Dude, you've got this thing." And then I bought some mics and they're like, "You can record like my horrible songs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to." So I took over the spare bedroom in my parents' house in California and started plugging things in all wrong and backwards and tape and buying things that I could find at garage sales and at the local music store, and started recording, me and my friends. And then it was like, more tracks is more recordings and more mics is more sounds. And so that grew and grew and grew through high school. And then by the time I hit university, I was kind of at stride as a local, small C celebrity, because I had more stuff than, the other kids to record music. And so from there, it's a long and winding road that led me through university. And then eventually I ended up working at a studio in Hollywood. And it's a longer story than we have time for, that eventually led me to working for a film composer who was working for Disney at the time. And so I kind of became his right-hand guy. And so I was doing kind of school all day and then grinding out to Santa Monica to hang out with this guy till the wee hours. And he was doing some big stuff. And so from there, I was in the Disney track. And then once you're in the Disney track, their post-production was being done at Warner Brothers at that point. So then Warner Brothers was like, well, you show up in flip-flops and seem to know what you're doing. Do you want to work for us? And I was like, okay. And then from there, I did some DreamWorks stuff. And then I kind of did my run through my 30s and then ended up at Fox. For a couple years, and then I got married and at 30, and I just thought, man, like my passion through all of that was recording musicians. And so I was doing these big film and TV projects and recording voices and spent all day with animated voices, and it afforded me a very nice lifestyle. But through all of that early on, I rented some space in Orange County and opened a studio when I was like 20. And so for 10 years I had this space where we just made music, and it was the 90s in Orange County recording bands, and it was like living in a movie. And so when I hit my 30s and I just kind of went, I want to be married, and I'm married to a Canadian, and I just thought I want to do music, more music and less kind of corporate big stuff. And so that was the path then where it kind of led to where I am now.
As far as moving to Canada is concerned, whose idea was that? Was that your wife's or your idea?
That was entirely mine. She thought she won the lottery, not just by marrying this face and this personality, but she's like, sweet action, I got California. So we got married. She moved down. We got like a little convertible car, and she was just like, I'm warm. Like for the first time in my life, like she's like a skinny little thing. She's like, I'm warm. And then every time we visited Canada, I was like, but this is cool too. And I was like, the people are just chill, and it's kind of slow, and it's nice. And even the servers at the restaurant just want to chat, like ask how you are. And they stand there for 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm hungry, and you're really nice, but like, right. And so I just kind of fell in love with the country every time I came to visit her parents. And then eventually she spent enough time kind of in LA in that machine where she kind of understood what I was saying. I'm like, I'm doing this every day. And so it kind of became, let's float the trial balloon and let's go up and see how we feel about doing Canada. So she was from Toronto, so far East Coast, kind of LA to New York kind of journey. And then we just kind of decided, let's plant west, kind of just us away from both our families, and let's just kind of reboot life and see what happens. And it just worked, and we stayed.
Was it a bit of a shock at first for you?
It was. When we were in Toronto, we started there for a year out where she's from. And Toronto, I always say it's just like it's like the 51st state, right? Like it really is. Anything you want is going on in Toronto. Whatever you're into, there's like a parade or a district downtown for you. And so there was a lot of culture and a lot of chaos and a lot of fun and a lot of good food and good music. And so that was easier, but it was kind of what I was saying, like, let's slow down and let's kind of leave this and do something different. And so we decided to come west, and it started with a rental. Let's rent a house out west and just see what we want to do. Well, let's do a year. And so we came out here for a year, and I kind of just worked I was still winding down a lot of California work. So I was flying back quite a bit. And so we kind of kept finances running that way. And then she got a cool job downtown working for some hotshot realtor. And she's kind of from that world of property management, and she has a business degree. And so she was having a great time. And so we did our year and just thought, this is amazing. Like, we're skiing in the winter, and we have the Rockies. Like, you can see the Rockies out the window. Like, you ski all winter and you hike and bike and river float all summer. And so we just thought, let's do this. And so we just extended our year, and after a year, and it's been almost 20 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That has been a while.
Upper teens,
So
yeah.
I always imagine that if you're an American coming into a situation like that, let me clarify. If you're an American living on a coastal city and you're used to a little hustle and bustle and, hurry up kind of culture, that it takes some adjustment time, because I think inherently I'm somewhat impatient, and I think that I would at first it would drive me a little crazy to slow down so much. Did it affect you in any way like that?
Yeah, the Toronto buffer helped, because that was kind of like a brake check. So I'm in Canada, everything's a bit slower, but it wasn't. You just hit the wall in one go. And then we came here, and part of here for me, us, is that we're building, like we're still building. So in our personal, lives, like we haven't stopped. Like we did the city run. We built the amazing studio there that was just rocking, and you get to be the bigger fish in a smaller pond kind of thing. So it was hustling and doing neat stuff. And I brought all the gear from LA. And so it was cool and happening. And then that settled to a point where I was like, we have a now 12-year-old special needs adopted daughter. And then we have a 10-year-old son as well. So we started parenting a bit later, which was a whole new infusion of excitement and life and chaos and confusion and sadness and weirdness and all the stuff that comes with that. And then we found out our daughter was special needs. And so that's what prompted this move, was let's get her out of the city and let's slow her down a bit. And let's kind of get her some trees. And every time, she's on the spectrum. And so every time we kind of went outside where there was trees and nature, she just kind of opened up and became a better human. And so, right before COVID, kind of in there, that became our project, was let's find her some space. And so through COVID, then it was our COVID project to keep hunting, and we were driving to these beautiful pieces of land and figuring that out during COVID. And so to answer your question, to go from full tilt LA all the way to, I'm looking at trees, and there's like deer literally like walking past the window out here, like looking at me like, hey buddy, that was a long time to get to that point. And so even now we're here, and we're building the next studio. We're building the new room. And so we're back in the build, and we're hustling, and I'm sending 1,000 emails a day. And it never fully stopped. Like I'm not just sitting on my porch whittling, smoking a pipe.
Okay. Not smoking a corncob pipe, right?
Yeah.
Well, so let's focus a little bit here on this studio. You said it's a storage shed?
So I am, at this exact moment, it's one of them. I'll send you a couple of photos you can drop on right about now. But yeah, from the outside, it's a beat up old used shipping container that we bought used from somewhere in northern Alberta. And then on the inside, it looks like this now. And so we It's just a little mix room for me to work in
Hmm.
while we're constructioning the new space.
Okay, so this is temporary,
This
is
is
what you're telling me.
temporary.
Okay, and why did you decide to turn this into a temporary solution?
I uh, I, I was so the journey on this property is was is we bought the place, we renoed the house we're in now. So there's an original 1910 homestead house on kind of one corner. I mean, 160 acres is it's a big thing. Like you're driving around to get to the other side, right? I have to drive to my house from here. And so on one side was the original homestead house, and then on kind of the other side, up by the forest, there's about 50 acres of forest on kind of one piece, and so the whole property is none of it's level. It's all hills and streams, and like it's. I live on a movie set. It's actually pretty special. And the magic of this property that was so appealing is that it's really close to town. So I always say I'm 12 minutes to Starbucks and Walmart and Best Buy, and so it's kind of like you go out the city over some hills, and then this thing is just kind of tucked in this little valley there. Very special place. So on the other side of the property, the other house was the original people had built for their kids this cabin up by the woods, and so we attacked that first. So for the first about 18 months, we renoed that thing. We took it to the studs, and it turned into this beautiful kind of retreat cabin thing that turned out so nice. We're like, let's just live in this. We were going to build another house and tear down the old house. And we just thought, we have a good house. Let's live here and we don't need to brain damage ourselves building for the next years. And so the next project then was, let's take this old red dairy barn across over here and turn it into the country's greatest studio. And so we dug in, we tore it open. The engineers came out and we dropped 8-foot posts all through it to support the old gambrel. And we actually had it up and running for a while. The SSL was in there, the outboard was in there, and I was making records there. And I did that for about 8 months. And then I thought, this is not the world's coolest studio. So we moved the equipment out again. We tore it back open. We needed better HVAC. We needed better this and that. And so it all got torn open again. And, maybe this is too much information, but we're doing a long form podcast. So, and you're my friend. So the next stage of the story was we're mid construction now on building seriously the coolest studio you'd ever see. Like, it was amazing on this property. We have gates and you just lock the whole property out. And I got invited by some artists that had come out here to do a project to visit them in Germany. So they're just outside Frankfurt. And since I'd torn the studio apart, they wanted to do a project. And they said, we'll just send you a ticket, come out and throw some mics in a bag and let's make it work. So I flew out there for a couple of weeks. I had I was joking that I was flying Neumanns into Germany. And I had a suitcase smuggling Neumanns into Germany. And we just spent a couple weeks making this record, and it was so much fun, man. Like, it was like being in high school again. Like, we were just recording in the high school and recording in whatever church and recording at the music school and recording in bedrooms. And we did this amazing project. And on the flight home, I opened my laptop and I logged on, and I was going to do some emails because I got 8 hours. And all these questions had come in, and like the business consultants had questions, and the marketing guy had questions, and the social media people had questions, and the offsite financial management people and potential employees were sending me resumes. And I had a freak out moment, man. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to build the world's coolest studio in 2025. Like, I don't want it. And so I just kind of like closed the laptop, and that was it. And then I just met with the team the next week, and Julie was like, amazing. My wife, she's like, sweet. This is great. This is a great idea. And so that was it. And so like a year ago, I just kind of killed it. We just paused the whole thing. Before the guys left, they did this for me. I was like, can you use your last superpowers and make me a place to work so I have somewhere? And so they cracked this off for me. And then all the machinery went rolling down the road, and we just kind of closed the gates and just sat in silence. And it was amazing. Like, it was amazing, Matt. Like, for the first time since I'm 15, I just stopped. And like, me and Julie went and got a marriage counselor, and I went and got my first therapist. And then she was jealous, so she went and got herself a therapist. Like, and we're just have done this year of like just raising our kids and exploring our own property here and trying to figure out what we do with this whole music chaos thing in 2025, right? Like who's building a mega studio? And so all that to say, that's why I'm in this thing. Where it's landed is we are the studio B of the project was over by the house. It was a detached garage from the 70s that we gutted out, did the room inside the room. We did all the stuff and the power and did all the proper floor stuff, and it was proper to be a proper studio B. And so we decided to finish that. So that's going to get finished off in the next 6 months, and that will be where I work. The barn is still this half-finished, amazing, beautiful thing that I don't know what I'm going to do with at this point. And now I'm in a sea can talking to you.
Wow. So what are you going to do with the current spot that you're in?
This thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I went on a webinar about 6 months ago, and I forget who put it on. And if people really care, I can find out. But it was about Atmos in a space this size. And it was really cool. It was like this 2-hour live webinar thing by somebody who'd done it, one of the guys, and he was kind of doing his formulas, and he sent out the video. I have the whole thing on video, and he sent all his schematics. So that was in the back of my head, is just do a tight little make this just a tight little Atmos room just for fun, because it sounds amazing in here. And then plan B is it's awesome. There's a little deck on the front and everything. I want to pick the whole thing up and kind of put it up by the woods and throw an upright piano in it and make it just a writing space. That's another idea.
Is it a space? Is it like one of those rectangular storage things you would see?
Yeah, you see them stacked on a ship, like those things. Yeah. It's just
wow. Okay, so this moment of like, one moment you're like, I'm going to build the greatest studio.
Yeah.
And then you're not.
Yeah.
Like, but you're very comfortable with that situation. And do you think it was just a situation where you clearly had the space and clearly had the funds, but it seemed like be careful what you ask for type of a situation?
I guess, yeah, a couple of parts to that, and I can talk about this because I got therapy. So my shortest answer, I told my friend who was the guy that was in charge of building this whole property and this whole project, and when I came to him, I just said, man, I'm the dog that like finally caught the bus, right? Like everything I've ever wanted to put into a space, like it's here and it's on paper. Like I had paper. We have a green light from the county to build this thing. Like I have all the permits are in place for it. All the like business permits are in place to have 30 cars a day show up to this place. Like it's like we did all the heavy lifting, and it got to the point where honestly when I sat back and imagined a day, because like you started with, and I've seen you often start with like, what does a day look like, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was doing, that exercise kind of while I was in Germany, and I stopped and I'd lay there, all time shifted at 2 a.m, wide awake, and I'm imagining, what does a day look like if I catch this bus? What does it look like? And it was the idea that I'm managing people now more than music. That was one. Like the amount of people it would take to make something this big run, is something. And anybody that's ever run a big room, either is dealing with this conundrum, or has dealt with it, or has closed because of it, or is just going and is really brave and is going into it and is exercising it out themselves or whatever. But that's the biggest piece, right? Is it's the client ratio to keeping gear running ratio to, the SSL and it's just the HVAC with, 11 zones, and we were turning over the CO2 once an hour because CO2 makes people sleepy in a booth. And it was madness, man. Like we were going to make an amazing thing. But the thought was, my kids come home from school, and what's the best case scenario? I've got a session that I've got to work. We can't go on a trip because I have a thing on Tuesday that I have to be at for 1 hour. So the whole trip doesn't happen with my kids. Or I'm at the table, like doing payroll type stuff while my kids are doing, you know what I mean? And like every way I kind of turned it, I just ran into this wall of like, I don't want to spend my kids' whole childhood building something and then they just move out, right? Like, and so that's kind of where it landed. That was at the end of the day, I just went, oh man, like I'm just going to do smaller. The money we're not spending means we can go to Disneyland. Like, so we did our first Disney trip a few months ago. I was like, let's go. And Julie was like, where? And I'm like, Disneyland. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. She's like, just the 4 of us? And I was like, yeah. Like, let's just go. And she's like, but what about? And I'm like, no, what about? Like, I'll figure the what about. Because all she's known for 20 years is like, I can't go to Disneyland because some guy's coming over and I have to buy soy milk because that's what he likes for his coffee for his 1 hour session, right? So kind of just taking all that off the table, just opened up this whole new world of let's do just music with my friends. And I'm 50 next year, so I'm not like young and cool. Am I young enough and cool enough to pull off this thing I was going to build 20 years ago? Maybe. Now I just need sleep, and like I need my cardio and my core fitness so I don't fall over and hurt myself. And so all of this to say, yeah, it was just a combination of, it just didn't sound really, really fun. And why would I do it if it's not really, really fun? There's a lot of ways to make minimum wage.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating that I applaud you for the maturity, even even as an audio professional, because it's so often that we just keep thinking bigger, bigger, bigger. I got to grow. I got to get a big studio, but we don't actually ask ourselves, what does the day-to-day look like? And I think that that's an important part of this for no matter what business you're in, to say, how do I want to spend my time? And if you really evaluate it like you did, you realize I'm not going to be making that much. My time's going to get sucked away. And I can tell you now that my kids are older and we're on the verge of the empty nest thing. I kind of look back and part of me is glad that I got my ass kicked at the studio that I did have, which was the cause of the creation of Working Class Audio in the first place, because it forced me to come home. It forced me to like work from home and, really nose to the grindstone and figure it out. But as a result, I was closer. I was always taking the kids to school, picking them up, doing the food, all that business.
And then for us, you throw in the at the end of the day, it was a surprise, but you throw in the special needs daughter piece.
Oh,
and
yeah.
man, if she's awake, somebody's got eyes on her, and that's just the way it is, right? And so there's no break from that. There's no off ramp. There's no empty nest. There's no when this happens, we that. Like we're just in this journey forever, right? And I say on my deathbed, I'll be like, oh, I wonder if she ate today, right? Like that's the journey we're on. And so, yeah, realizing these realities, as they just settled in more and more into my head and into my heart, I just thought, man, like mixed with, I'm doing this since I'm, 18 or whatever. So I got 30 years of this, and I can count on one hand the people over 30 years that I've worked with that if I was in trouble, I could call them and they would help. And the other thousands just came and did a thing and left, right? And so part of that for me, the people I hold closest to me on that list are the people that I want to keep doing things with and for. And those are the people I want to, you know what I mean? And so there was a bit of triaging my time that way too, where it's like, how many of these people by the hour from a service provider standpoint, am I able to service really, really well with all my heart? And I was realizing that was shrinking because my mind was like, oh, I wonder if Ellie ate today, right? And so that for me, I just, and early on, I loved that. I was like, man, come for the hour. We're going to rock it. It's going to be amazing. If I never talk to you again, great, but let's do a great hour. And now, and then maybe it's a product of getting older or whatever, where I'm just like, man, like I want to hold the closer people closer. And it's more and more valuable to me, those people. And let's make that list longer and the other list shorter. And so that was a big part of my kind of triaging my life and my time into this current strange life I'm living.
I wonder if these realizations would have come to pass had you continued to live in California.
It's a great question. I don't know. And maybe even then, this was the path I was on intentionally. Like I was at the top of my, food chain game when I quit, right? Like I had arguably the coolest audio job in California that I quit from. And then they said, can we give you more help, or can we pay you more, or can we give you another assistant or whatever? And I was like, no. Like I'm out. Like I'm going to go move away and try to figure out life. And so, yeah, maybe I was subconsciously or consciously on this journey, even when I did leave LA, right? So I don't know. I always kind of said when I started, and my mom verified it at one point. She's like, you did say it when you started, like your first big job, you just kind of said, you don't want to do this when you're older. Like it was like you were very intentional. Like you didn't want to be, I just didn't want to be like the 65-year-old guy that's like, maybe I need more earrings or whatever, right? Like I didn't want to just be on that trajectory to like, how do I stay cool, right? emotionally or whatever. And so yeah, all along I kind of was maybe had this in the back of my head. Maybe I work really, really, really hard, invest hard, and make these decisions so one day I can sit here in a sea can and talk to you for as long as I want.
You clearly made a lot of money doing what you were doing in LA before. Is that true?
Yeah, like financially, it's always been a weird. I'm a weird financial guy. Like people are like, how do you like? Well, like you're like, are you rich? Are you poor? Like, are you black? Are you white? Or like, are you smart? Are you a dodo? Like people like, it's funny. Like, are you a good musician or a terrible musician? Like my whole life, people are like, we can't figure you out, man. Like my whole life, people are like, we don't even know where you're from. Are you American or Canadian? Like, well, and so yeah, the finance thing has always been. And so with all these things, for me, it's always just been a journey of like, let's just go until we don't go. And the
Mm-hmm.
first guy I worked for was very, very successful. And he taught me stuff about, I was like young and, we'd be drinking wine on his studio patio and he's just, how do you do this magic trick, man? Like, how do you do this? How do you have a family? How do you have amazing kids? How do you go on vacation? How do you have a second house? How do you do this? And so he schooled me like from a young age. And it was my greatest education was just sitting there with Don. And he would talk about, mailbox money was his phrase. He's like, you got to make money while you're sleeping. Like there's not enough hours for me to bill by the hour to do this. So he's like, here's what an investment looks like. And here's what this looks like. And so, yeah, I kind of always carried that with me that there was more to life than, by the hour recording somebody. And I realized early on that the more I was able to secure a position financially, the better I was able to service people, which is, that I don't have to get every penny out of that guy. I could just say like, you're good. Let's go another hour. Like, you're good. I got you. Let's do this. Right. And so there was this whole service heart thing that, maybe growing up in church at my parents' house or something. I don't know, where that seed came from, but there was a piece of like, man, if I have more, I can give more and we can do more and accomplish more. And so yeah. And Don's line always was from the minute I met him, he's like, I'm just going to do this till I run out of money. And that was always his line. Right. And then he's just like, every year somehow it works out. And so I'm in the same way. Like I thoughtfully and intentionally, and even in the last year, like it's just been very intentional with the therapy and the self-work and the learning and the reading and the books and the podcasts, and is just intentionality with all this stuff outside of music. And if my identity is being the studio owner guy, what does it look like when that's gone? That's been a big one. Like, right? Like it'd be like you not doing this. Like you're the working class. Like this is you. You're the guy with the thing.
I know.
And my whole life, I've been the guy with the Lamborghini studio. And for the last year, I'm like riding my bike from my little bell and like waving at people that knew me. Right. So it's been an interesting. And so all the way back to the money thing where, how vital even is that? Right. So like,
Well,
dumping gear now is a thing, right? Like the
right.
money, the shiniest pieces. I'm like, let's just I'm letting stuff go, right?
So I think what I'd like to ask you is what would be your advice about how we as audio professionals should look at money to sustain us, because it can be a precarious up and down gig all the time. There's months where I'm like, woohoo, money's coming in, and then the next month I'm like, money's not coming in like it was. What are we gonna do?
It's hard, and I'm sure you would say this too. Like a lot of guys in our age window, I hear when I get with my age peers is, man, like if I had to start today, right? And it's even like as a musician, it's like, I'm listening to Sting the other day. And I'm like, he lives in one of his castles this week, right?
I know.
But what would Sting do if he was on American Idol as a 17-year-old this week, right? So it's an interesting question, and I don't ever feel qualified to answer it because I lived in a different world where you would drive to the thing and they would give you money to do a thing, and then when the thing was done, you'd go home and they'd already have the next thing ready for you, right? So it was kind of a different gig, man. And now, heaven help us, AI, and so I don't know. All I can say, and Chris and I do this podcast, and we wander into this cul-de-sac quite often of like what do we do with all the available this, and what do you do with all the available that, and all the options for this, and I say it about once an episode. I just go, just have fun, just have fun. And if having fun at audio, I tell artists I work with, if having fun playing and writing and singing and recording and performing, if having fun doing that means you have to go be a barista during the week, then go be a barista during the week. And as soon as the fun is gone from this one, go get this one, right? And so I know guys that are like, I'm struggling and I'm toiling and I hate it and my wife's mad at me and my kid can't eat. And I'm like, well, you're not having fun. So go make minimum wage doing something else and then rediscover this. Like, come back to this in a year. Like, go get a job if you can, and then come home in the evening and still do your thing. You still have a lot of hours in your day once you get home from work to do the thing you're passionate about, and you'll be passionate again when you're not trying to squeeze life out of it, right?
Well, I mean, I think for a lot of people, there's probably a fair amount of people out there that, they see their idols, they see the Michael Jordans and the LeBron James and et cetera of our pro audio world, and a lot of them think, oh, well, that's success. That's what I want to do. But at the end of the day, I think the success is, are you happy and are you covering your basic needs, and is that good enough for you?
Yeah.
And
yeah, and the idea of, like for artists, I've for years been saying, if you come and make an album, and then your job is to use that album to make enough money to come back and make another album.
Mm-hmm.
And if your rent and mortgage or whatever is paid for with other things, then do that, but just keep that line running. Right? Like, just do enough shows and sell enough merch to come back and do this again. And I promise you'll be happy. Like, you'll feel fulfilled if you're always working towards the next thing, right? And if, as an engineer or a studio owner or producer, it's, same idea applies. Like, do enough work in your studio that you can buy that microphone you've been dreaming about. Like, just keep your eye on that and be excited for that. And as long as you stay excited for that, you'll keep moving. But as soon as you get into this, like, I'm drowning type thing, right? Like, that's a horrible posture to be in. I'm drowning doing something I love, right? So how do you bring the joy back into just grinding away? How do you, like, tuning vocals at 2 a.m.? Like, find the joy in that. Like, I love it. Like, I got my little keyboard here so I can hear what note I'm going for, and like, it's always there. And like, I love it. I love kind of toiling away in the bowels of a mix because I'm just inching it down the road, right? As opposed to trying to spin all the plates at once.
Where do your clients come from these days?
Till now, it's been fairly local when I had the cool room. And the Canadian governmental system of art encouragement, maybe a phrase I just made up, is slightly different than that of where I came from in California. So the incentives, the government assistance is greater here. It's now the economy, like everything's kind of tapering in the last couple of years, but up until now, the provincial government, so the state, and then the feds were super into make art in Canada, keep it in Canada, use Canadians to make it, and we will help you. And you fill out the stuff, and it's a juried system, so it goes off, and then a jury of your peers goes, yep, let's help fund these 7 projects, and let's look at these other 10 for next time or whatever. And so people were making records that way. And then, the feds would help with, like, now I need to go on tour. And they'll be like, here's some money to go on tour. And here's some money to make a music video and a different stream. And so locally, that kept the machine running beautifully. And so it kept this kind of local artist, circle going. Recently, since all this stuff disappeared 16 months ago or whatever, I have been flying I've got this little cottage industry going in Germany, and I'm having the time of my life. So I think I'm going on next week. I think I'm on my 5th trip this year to Frankfurt, and I'll be there for 10 days. And I just have this roster of artists I'm working with. And so I sit in the CCAN on Zoom and we write projects, and then I go over there and we record things, and then I get scratches and bring them back and then build tracks. And it's been so much fun, man. Like, it's really been fun just to go to another culture and just learn. Like, they're singing in German. I'm like, what is this song even about? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, I made a happy track. And they're like, it's the saddest song ever written. Like when I get the lyric translated or whatever, or hippity skippity, and they're like, oh, it's about my mom dying or whatever. And I'm like, so it's just been really fun to just do a totally different thing, to make music while eating different food and drinking different beer. And
So you're writing remotely with Germans, and
Yeah.
then when it comes time to like, you're doing writing and pre-production,
yes.
and then
post.
you're going over there to record.
Yeah.
And how did that begin? How did that even start? And how did like Frankfurt, like,
Yeah. So the medium length version is, it's kind of a story. There's a guy who is a guitar god, one of those like 12-minute instrumental in, bar of 5, bar of 7, bar of 4 in all the different keys. One of these guys. And he lives in Ontario, Canada, just outside Toronto. He's amazing. There's a kid in Germany that's his mentor idol. And so the German guy called the guy in Toronto and said, hey, I want to make a record like you, and I want you to produce it, and I want to do it the way you do it. And so Toronto guy said, well, you have to fly to Calgary because I do my projects with this guy Steve at his studio. So German guy flies to Calgary, Toronto guy flies to Calgary. They fly in the other producers and engineers. We set up all the same mics in the same rooms, and they start doing this project. And while we're doing this, this guy's girlfriend of whatever, 9 years at that point, is sitting on the couch. And so like the first day, she's like sketching, and she's doing this amazing, like beautiful sketch of the room. And she's sitting there all black. She had green hair, and it's like German is cool. And so I, like by day 2, I just looked at her and I'm like, I want to know everything about you. Like, let's be friends. I go, do you want a coffee? And she goes, I would like a coffee. And so we had a coffee, and she starts playing me her music that she's doing kind of quietly on her own. And it turns out that she's this brilliant visual artist and musician. And so by day 3, I'm upstairs. I'm like, Julie, I need you and the kids to go upstairs because we need the piano, because me and German chick are going to write a song. And so we start writing and playing with her music. And anyway, so all that to say, a year later, we had finished writing her album. She flew back to Calgary. Her dude got to sit on the couch while she recorded her album with me. And we did that. Fast forward to a bit ago. There's no studio. They both want to do a project now with me. I have no studio. So they're like, we're going to send you a ticket. Come stay with us, and we'll just find places to record. So that's where I threw Neumann's in a suitcase and went to Germany. Then they're kind of local celebrities. So it was like, oh, Marlena's producer is coming. Can I meet him, or can we talk? Can I meet with him while he's here? And so then these other people started kind of showing up. And now, so I stay with them now, and we just do kind of all projects together. The 3 of us just work on all these things. And so they handle the local piece, I handle the production piece, and we're making records.
Is there any part of you that regrets not building that studio so that people would just come to you?
It's a funny question, and my therapist checks in with me about once a month and asks me the same question. How are you feeling about letting the bus go after a lifetime? Eye on the prize, right? And the short answer is I'm good. I always say it's like thinking about an ex-girlfriend or something. And every once in a while you're like, oh, that was, she was kind of, we did that one trip and it was kind of neat, and she was really good at cooking this and whatever. But then like the more you think about it, you're like, oh, that's why we broke up, right? Like when you really stop and think, or you run into them somewhere or whatever, you're like, oh yeah. And so there's a bit of that. Like when I actually sit and visualize it, I just go, I'm good.
Well, I mean, let me play devil's advocate. I mean, did it have to be like the world's greatest studio that you were chasing?
So that's where we've landed. We've landed on the world's solid studio. And that's what we're building now. Is I'm just going to build a Honda Accord. It's going to have just the right rooms. It's going to have just the gear I want. It's going to be small enough that it doesn't have to be commercial. And that was kind of the threshold, right? So in any business endeavor, I would submit that there's a point where you can kind of do it as a one-man shop, where you have the keys and there's your kids' pictures are on the console, or it crosses over to where other people are showing up to do sessions and you're booking things. And so I pulled it from that back to just, I have the keys, my kids' pictures are on the wall, I know where everything is, my stuff's in the drawers, right? And so that's where I think I'm the phrase I use with the builder is I was building like this beautiful like Hilton in Hawaii, where everybody comes and they expect Hilton things when they show up, and they want everything they want in the fridge, and they expect a certain level of everything. I'm just going back to my bed and breakfast. Look, I'm like, hey man, just crash on the couch, right? Like, and so that's where I'm best. I'm best to just send a text and be like, yeah, dude, come by at 2. I got an hour. I don't want to have off-site soft management to do that, right? Like, so that's where it is. I've just brought it back to my bed and breakfast size operation where me and my buddies can drink a beer and make a record and play music. And I think that's going to answer your question, I think that's going to surely scratch the itch enough that I'm not going to be an old guy sad I didn't build a cruise ship. I just sailed with my friends, right?
It just seemed, yeah. I mean, I love the analogy of the hotel versus the bed and breakfast. I think that it sounded like it was pretty damn over the top.
It was freaking over the top, man.
So,
but it was going to be cool. Like everybody that sees it is just like, oh man, like a couple of musicians walk through the barn and they're like, damn it. Like,
well, I'm sure that there were people disappointed around you.
Yeah. But how much are they paying?
Right. Right.
Are they staying up all night paying the engineer number 7 for the flute player number 3 to work with client number 12? Like, that's on me to move that $14 to somebody, right? Forget it. I'm going back to me.
This is a completely random question. Like, you're out in the middle of nowhere, it seems. How are you getting internet?
Oh, Elon.
Oh, that guy.
That guy.
Mm.
He's Elon. But I'm grateful every once in a while for his little satellite dish venture.
Yeah.
In my defense, I got it before everything happened.
That's a different podcast. Okay. So that's how that's working.
It's not fast. It's not pretty. When I have to do a big upload, like when Chris and I are sending big video files, like it's like back in the day, like I set it to upload and go to bed. And in the morning, I'm like it did it.
So how far away is Chris Salim from you?
Chris is a 25-minute drive up the highway.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all, man. We rip up there, we have breakfast, and we crack off a podcast.
Interesting. Now with so much land, I assume you own the land, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and the
have
bank.
Have you ever considered selling off a small plot and having people join you?
It is, we talk about once a month. We're just like, oh, we could totally sell that. It's at this point, it's more valuable to have it in our pocket and know we could do it. Like it's our escape hatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's always if all else fails, rip this cord. Somebody, we could section off some chunks of this. Because that's everybody's joke when they show up. Everybody's just like, man, just sell me 1 acre.
Yeah.
Everybody, I just need 1 acre, man. I said, if I sold 1 acre to all y'all, I'd be back in the city.
Right. Well, you could form a whole commune of people.
Yeah, of rich musicians. I think about it at night. The other thing we talk about is we talked about dig a huge underground thing for the end of times.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, right? Like an elevator down to a bunker. And then I could sell space in that to my really, really rich friends who are worried about this. And then I could retire.
Wow, that is another podcast.
Right? Can you imagine?
Yeah,
big generators and stuff.
Yeah, we could start a Pro Audio Preppers podcast.
The Pro Audio Preppers PPP.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have to do the podcast. We could just sell the shirts.
Yeah. Right. Now, in this part of the underground section, we have our studio. And then we have our backup studio.
Backup studio on a different generator, on a separate slab.
And we have a little medical area to work on microphones. We have a clean room so we can keep the Neumanns, up to spec.
Amazing. Server room. This could work.
Well, so do you maintain any kind of a social media or web presence in an effort to get more business?
I so far have been awful at this. It is my least talented thing of things I do. And I'm not talented at a lot of stuff, but that's it. The idea of tweeting, whatever it's called, Xing.
Yeah.
Truthing. I don't do any of this. I'm terrible at this. Fortunately, it's been a function on word of mouth land. And that was a big, I actually felt angst about this when I was building the big thing. Guys like Chris are I'll be your social media consultant and I'll teach you. And you have to do a thing a day. And we have to film these things and I'm going to bring a chopper and film you. And I'm I don't, you bringing a dolphin? What? I don't understand. And so that was a big part. It's all this trepidation about like going bigger, right? And going public. Cause I'm just a very like, people are like, just what did you work on? Like, just tell me about you. And I'm like, it doesn't, like, what are we doing for you today? Like, I'm just that way. And so, yeah, the idea of like putting myself out there and talking about myself and like, it just gives me palpitations, man. So all that to say, I'm terrible at it. I realize I should do it. Chris is helping me, walking me through it. He's holding my hand.
Yeah. Chris is really good at it.
Yeah. Him and his little beard are just walking me through life.
Well, it's interesting though, because I feel that, and this is my perception, so this could be complete garbage, what I'm about to say. My perception is that Canadians in general, Canadian audio professionals are not real, like, bang the table and look at me kind of people.
Correct. They are not. And that's why I fit in okay here. And why I struggled in LA. Like it was hard. Like it was so like fast and shiny. And I'm just not. Like I'm like, man, like this, my black t-shirt's working. Like I'm going to wear this every day. Like it's just, I'm so that way to a fault. Like it is to a fault. And I appreciate that. And people tell me that. And I agree. They're like, man, you could have really done something for yourself if you've tried at all this stuff. And I was like, at this point, I'm just trying to get to the end of my life and keep my hip intact.
Well, fantastic, man. It's great to talk to you and great to have you on and hear this perspective. I think a lot of people are going to be like, what? He stopped?
I know.
He stopped building the big studio?
It's a weird thing, man. People get frustrated at me. Like, but you can't stop. Like, we need you, right? Like,
right. But I'm intrigued by the fact that you made those decisions. And I think that they, are the right decisions for you and your family. And that's, at the end of the day, say what you will about any of this. It's your decision and it's your business.
I had a buddy of mine who was a pastor for a long, long, long time. And he said, one time, I have been with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people when they died. And not one of them ever said, I wish I worked more.
Right.
On their deathbed. Right. And so that's where I just have taken this on. And so, yeah, I'm loving it, man. Like it's fantastic. I'm in physical shape. think I'm in decent mental shape and working on life.
Will I see you at NAMM?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're gonna party, man. we find ourselves with some weird things, huh?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about my favorite bar on the planet.
Yeah. Were you there last year or the year before when one of the companies was having a dinner like in the room next door?
Right.
And nobody was there and it had ended. And so we just kept going over there and we're like, can we have food? And the guy's like, yeah, like, so
yeah,
we just ate.
that was Pace. That was the iLock people.
Yep.
That had that food in there. And then we all were
I didn't know if we wanted to say it on the podcast, but
whatever,
Yeah, it was. I think it was Pace.
What are they going to do? Sue us for eating the food that we were told to eat?
Nobody was there. It was over. I think they had all gone. And so we had it was good.
Yeah, there was a lot of good food.
Pretty good food.
Well, I hope that repeats itself.
I know.
Get all that.
These
Get all
are the
that
small
free
wins,
food.
Matt.
I know. Well, hey, dude, great to see you. Great to have you on, and thanks again. And I'll see you at NAMM. I'll see you in January.
I'll see you in a few months.
26. All right. Well, take care. In the meantime.
Thank you.